Welcome to Opera Out of the Box, unpacking opera piece by piece. I'm your host, Brad Cresswell. I'm joined in the studio by Leah Whitaker, who's Development Officer for Toledo Opera, Ebone Waweru, a part of the Toledo Opera family, a teaching artist with Opera is a Story, a beloved chorister, a member of the Community Engagement Advisory Committee. Did I miss anything, Ebone?
You got it right on point.
Okay. And we're also joined by Ron Wells Jr., who is Executive Assistant to Lucas County Commissioner Pete Gerken by day and Toledo Opera mainstay by night. Before we get started, let's talk about the word of the day, and that is community engagement. I've got a little fanfare for that. Okay, I was trying to find like a sound effect that would be word of the day sound effect, and I really didn't get to it. A kind of a Pee Wee Herman approach, but that was the best that I could do. So I promise not to use it every single time you say the words community outreach.
Okay.
But that is the word of the day. We're talking about community outreach today, and each of you has like a different point of view as to how Toledo Opera affects the community. Let's start with you, Leah. Give us a little background on you.
Well, I came to the opera the beginning of this season. I'm a local native Toledoan who's lived away for a number of years and came back after the pandemic to resettle in my hometown. And my whole professional background has been in nonprofit educational fundraising and administration. So this is, for me, a brand new entrance into the cultural arts scene, and I didn't realize how much I was missing until I came to Toledo Opera to be around creative people who are really passionate, and having this really great opportunity to work as the staff liaison for the Community Engagement Committee has given me a completely new appreciation for the cultural arts and my role as a development and advancement person as well.
Now, you have a little experience as a singer, right? Or as a soprano? Tell us
do.
about that.
That's so long ago, Brad. My actual first introduction to Toledo Opera was in their summer camp when I was in 3rd and 4th grade. So when I went to Maumee Valley Country Day School and all of my classmates were on trips to Europe and islands in the Caribbean, and my parents sent me to Toledo Opera.
Wow.
And that's where I first learned how to sing and have breath and posture and all of these sort of performance things. And I sang in choruses and choirs throughout my high school career, but since then I don't sing.
Well,
I talk.
You also danced as a babe in Babes in Toyland, right?
I did. That's where I met our incoming general director, Jim Norman, who is a star in that opera. Yep, I was a tin soldier. Along with my brother, who was a gingerbread man. So it's a family affair.
Yeah. Does your musical background at all help you in what you're doing, raising money for the Toledo Opera?
Well, I mean, music and the arts are so much a part of who I am as a person. My father is Craig's keyboards, Craig's piano, so he's very well invested into the music scene in Toledo, and I just don't think, being a Whitaker, that I could really step too far away from that background. So Coming home to me was really coming home in a lot of ways and bringing together all parts of my history.
I'm making the connection now that I know Craig Whitaker. He's been here working on our pianos many times, but it's great to make that connection. I guess you have the same last name, so it should have been cued into that.
Yeah, and this apple has not fallen far from that tree.
Nice, nice to know. So you have a singing background, and you, Ebone, have a singing background. You are a singer. Tell us a little bit about your path to becoming involved with Toledo Opera.
How far back we want to go?
Well, we only have 40 minutes, so...
Okay, not that far. My connection to Toledo Opera started with, actually, my daughter was in the children's chorus for Tosca, I believe. She was, in that one. And so she started first. And I've always been around. I have a music education background. I've sung a lot. and I always wanted to get back into the opera, but I also have 4 children, so you have to take some time out for that.
Yeah.
And so, and then I joined back, and it's been great. I can't really remember. I think it might have been a production of Romeo and Juliet, possibly 7 years ago or something like that.
The last time they did it, because they did it very recently, and then they did it before that several years.
Yes, and I've been a stay-at-home mom for about 16 years, and so I wasn't teaching anymore. In the school system, I was an education specialist for Toledo Public Schools. Loved my job, but also loved my 4 children, so I stayed home. And so after the first season or the second season in Toledo Opera Chorus, they brought in an opera as a story, headed by Christina Farrell, who is the
turns them into a story.
Thank you.
Tells a story.
Into the story for adequate for 4 or 5-year-old children, and so they needed another teaching artist, and they contacted me. It's my background, education, and I've been doing it ever since. So I think it's been about 5 years, and it's a bright star for me every year. I love doing the program, working with the children with Opera as a Story. And that's kind of how it kind of came around. And then community engagement came around around the time that we did I Dream, to help, connect with the community with the subject matter that we were dealing with I Dream. And after I Dream, I was asked to be a committee member.
Okay. Ron, tell us about your coming on board with Toledo Opera. I'm assuming that you don't have a background as a singer. Is that true or false?
Well, actually, in undergrad, I was a member of one of the oldest music-related fraternities in the United States, Phi Mu
Alpha.
Yeah,
I'm a Sinfonian.
Oh,
Are you a Sinfonian?
Once a Sinfonian, always a Sinfonian.
All right, bravo. Well, tell us about your involvement with Toledo Opera and how you came to be involved in the community outreach of the company.
Sure. Well, just if I can just say a little bit about my background, Toledo's my adopted home, originally from Chicago, Illinois, Oak Park area, if you're familiar, and came out here to Toledo for undergrad. As an exercise science major, and afterwards kind of struggled to get a job in that field, so to speak. And so I had this career trajectory of working in education, working in political organizing and in sales, and I had an opportunity to contract with the Toledo Opera for I Dream, beginning in 2017, really just I think from my background in organizing and the time that I spent just working in various communities, and the intentionality of the leadership of Suzanne to say, hey, we want to look at how we can continue to diversify our audiences, right? To understand and really respect the perception that opera gets as an art form. Right, it's kind of seen as an exclusionary art form sometime, which we can break down some of those stereotypes and that the historical, aspects of that. But that was an intentional move, and so I had that opportunity to come on board during that time, and we did a lot of programming and tried a lot of things. But it's just all about how do we plant those seeds for engaging with people that. Quite honestly, haven't been engaged by an operatic community to give voice, to provide opportunity in shaping how we tell those stories.
What have you learned, or what has changed in the few years that you've been here? You came in 2018 for I Dream. Mm-hmm. What, in your estimation, has changed in what you're trying to do with Toledo Opera?
Yeah, that's a great question. I just think about Toledo Opera being a company that tells stories, we have to consider whose story that we're telling, right? How we bring people into that. I think in the time that I've been here and what I've been able to see is allowing voice, the voice of community. When we say community, we have to be explicit on who we mean. African Americans, a lot of Black and brown people. Again, when you get that exclusionary component, the stereotypical race component of, hey, this is a art form for rich white people, which is not the case. To say there's a diversity of people that enjoy opera and people that have contributed to it. So, I can go through some of the specific things that we've worked on, from I Dream to Blue and even now into Ragtime. We had a great event last night. I think that openness to really hear from people that might not have even, opera wasn't even on their radar, but to say, hey, there's a place for you belong here. And I think that's very important.
Well, the audience has changed slightly with what you're doing in community outreach and trying to reach those audiences that don't normally go to an opera. And then what really impresses me is that you follow up on that. You also provide them with resources, maybe writing their own review or writing about the opera, something to get them involved. And I think that's great. I do have a quiz that is related to the idea of community engagement, although it's as completely obscure as possible. This is the flash round. It's called Synonym or Not, and we all know what a synonym is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you two words. It's a flash round. You tell me which one is a synonym, not cinnamon, synonym. Wow. So you tell me which is a synonym for the word community, okay? I think there are 10 of these, and we'll just go through it as a flash round. Who wants to take this quiz? Because I've got two more after this.
I'm going to get this one over with,
You
Brad.
got this one over with, okay. Now you have to answer as quickly as you can, right?
Okay.
And we'll see how many you get right.
I'm pretty competitive.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's some music for you. All right.
Okay.
What is a synonym for community? Assembly or car?
Assembly.
Which word is synonymous with community? Bicycle or society?
Society.
Which word is another way of saying community? Tree or neighborhood?
I believe that's neighborhood, Brad.
What is a synonym for community? Is it chair or colony?
Colony.
Which word is a synonym for community? Is it ocean or village?
I believe that's village.
Your next word is rocket or group?
Group.
Cloud or population?
Population.
Okay, bridge or collective?
Collective.
Mountain or settlement?
Settlement.
Okay, this one's kind of tricky.
Okay.
What is a synonym for community? Is it island or township?
Well, I believe that's township. Island's
Wow.
the opposite. That'd be an antonym.
That's amazing.
Thank
You got all of them.
you. I'm good at adjectives.
Okay, well, I've got two more quizzes, but we'll save them for later. While we're talking with you, Leah, why don't you tell us about your involvement with community outreach? How does what you do flow into all the other aspects that Ron was talking about?
Being new to this committee, I think for right now it's important that I do a lot more listening than talking. But my specific role is as the staff liaison to keep an open line of communication and organization between committee members and volunteers and the internal workings of the office. So, we'll get in conversations in our meetings and we'll have questions about perhaps casting decisions or processes or budget issues. And me as a liaison can help give information so this committee can inform their decision making better. So that's, I'm kind of like the ligament in the joint here, just keep things smooth and moving. But I really feel like my role right now should be just to listen more and to observe and to get the experience of this particular company, Toledo Opera's culture, and how that culture is changing and where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And just to really not be on the sidelines, but for right now, absorb.
Ebony, we've talked about your role as a singer and the things that you've done with Toledo Opera. Can you talk about reaching the community and why opera is an important part of that, though people may not know it, how it can be an important part of people's lives?
Well, that is totally connected to an opera as a story, actually. So I want to start from there. So I went into education and music education because I wanted to reach underserved communities musically. An opera as a story definitely does that with the 4 and 5-year-old children, the students of Head Start and the preschools, because they're learning a music genre they have never heard before. So when you first go in there and you sing them a note, they get excited. Their face, they respond like immediately. That in that way we're reaching the student, but we're also reaching their parents. Their parents are given the whole curriculum of what the students are given. So they know what they're going through, and they're also invited to the performance. So it's a 3-day education program. The 4th day, well, it's a 4-day, but the 3 days I go in and I teach the students. The 4th day is a performance, and sometimes I'm performing, sometimes resident artists are performing, and so it just opens up a field of music that they wouldn't necessarily come across.
Yeah. Well, it seems like that's a perfect combination of your skills that you've learned over the years.
Yes.
Education and working with kids. You have 4 of your own, so
Yeah,
and singing, obviously, and your interest in opera.
Yes.
So that's great. I know that this podcast is sort of part of your community outreach. It's a way that we're trying to demystify opera a little bit. Let me ask you, Ron, what do you think is the most important thing when it comes to demystifying opera, to breaking down those barriers? What are the barriers and how can we overcome them?
Wow, yeah. That's a great question. Well, a couple things. Opera, but first, I am by any means of the stretch of the imagination well versed in opera. I love music. I just feel all the emotions when I see the performances. But I can list a few names, but I leave that to the company. I just love the experience. So I'm learning too. I think the one, just meeting people where they are, right? We've if I could talk about some of the community connections that we've had, and when we did Blue, we did an event with the African American Police League, right? And so Blue details this story of family with the intersection of police violence, right? And using that moment and having that dialogue with Black officers, I think was a really prominent moment, because that story, right, of officers that serve and that love their country and their community have a very different experience than their white officers, right? Yeah. And of course, we've seen police violence with white officers and Black unarmed men, but opera brought that moment together, right? And from that, people go to the performance and hear and see the music, and they're like, wow, this is something that I can enjoy, that I can really enjoy. And you break down that barrier with those moments, right? I mean, I look at who might have gone to see Blue, and that was could have been their first opera, undoubtedly. But those moments to not only hear that music, but then also talk about a societal issue that can be harsh, and how those bridges were able to come together.
Well, it's also important, I think, that Toledo Opera has done so much in the peripheral lane for these operas. When you're talking about a new opera like Blue, you have Janine Tesori and Tazewell Thompson participating in this performance in one way or the other. And then you have other events that are going on, like we did, a lot of support with Toledo Opera at the radio station here, talking about Blue and bringing those conversations to the public. I wonder, though, how do you get, is that a gateway, you think, for people to be interested in some of the classic operas, that we see from time to time?
I certainly think it can be.
Yeah.
The classic operas still tell contemporary stories, and or at least themes that we can recognize within our lives today. And so when we have our engagement meetings, and I kind of forgot to mention I'm chair of the Community Engagement Advisory Committee. I'm also a Toledo Opera trustee of kind of how we got to this point with my involvement in the opera. Yeah. But I think the creative part, when we bring community together to say, okay, we all have our respective life experience, and here is Romeo and Juliet, right? Or here is Carmen. I remember discussions around Carmen with how women have had to operate in our society, right? And what partnerships and, just having the freedom to think about how we take these classical operas and think about what those stories tell that we can currently identify with, and to think about how we can engage people around that program. And so I think that's certainly still, an opportunity to bring people to that classic art form as well.
Yeah, I remember when you say Carmen, I sang the opera with New York City Opera when they went on tour, and I remember performing it in front of an auditorium full of high school students, and they were really into it. They were cheering and yelling here and there, and when my character stabbed her with a knife at the end, and there was a big, huge eruption from the audience. I love to see that kind of engagement from young people. Ebony, you certainly have that experience. Yes. And with people that have never seen the opera before. Carmen was my very first opera that I ever saw, and it made, obviously, a big impression on me. So, kudos to Toledo Opera for that. It's time for another quiz, if you're all ready. And I'm thinking that maybe this is the kind of quiz that I'll go around and ask you each for your answer, right? So I'll start with you, Leah, and then we'll go around.
I thought I got the quiz out of the way.
I think there are 8 or 10 questions.
Okay.
So obviously somebody's going to double up somewhere. Anyway, this is a quiz called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Oh, boy.
It's a quiz basically about the book. We'll
Yep.
get a little music here. Okay. Who is the author of the book? This is for you, Leah. You ready? Who is the author of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People? Is it Norman Vincent Peale? Is it Dale Carnegie? Or is it Tony Robbins? Which of those 3 self-help gurus wrote the novel?
Is it Tony Robbins?
The answer would be
No.
wrong. It wasn't Tony Robbins.
I didn't read the book.
So now you have a 50-50 chance. Dale Carnegie or Norman Vincent Peale.
I'm going to go with Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie, you win.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, that doesn't really go with the music, does it? All right. Let's go for you, Ebony.
Yes.
What is one of the key principles discussed in the book? Is it the 80-20 principle? Is it the law of attraction? Or is it the power of listening and understanding others?
The power of listening and understanding others?
Yeah, we'll give you a big cheer for that.
Yay! Good job, Ebony.
We can record that here, actually. Which of the following... Okay, this is for you, Ron. Which of the following is not a technique suggested in the book? Is it criticizing others openly, showing appreciation for others, or giving honest and sincere compliments? Which of these 3 does not belong?
Ooh, I am going to go A.
A, criticize others openly. That is not good advice, so you are correct.
As the youth say, put people on blast.
No wonder I don't have friends.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. We're going to zip on back over to Leah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, according to the book, what is one of the most effective ways to get someone to like you? Is it by
Alcohol. I'm just kidding.
talking only about yourself? That's a subsection of the alcohol thing. Being genuinely interested in others or ignoring others' opinions, A, B, or C. Which one is the most...
I'm really struggling. I think it's B, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think it's B? Yeah. It is B, indeed.
I'm learning a lot today.
That's good. Which chapter of the book emphasizes the importance of smiling? Is it chapter 3, remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest sound in any language? That's the name of the chapter.
Okay.
Is it chapter 4, which is entitled Be a Good Listener, Encourage Others to Talk About Themselves? Or is it chapter 2, The Big Secret of Dealing with People? Which chapter emphasizes the importance of smiling? 3, 4, or 2? What do you say, Ebony?
I am going to take a guess and say 4.
Nope, that's not it. 3 or 2? Which of those do you choose?
2.
That's right. Chapter 2. The big secret of dealing with people is smiling. Right? Remember that.
Okay. I smile a lot. So
Yeah.
I knew that intuitively.
Yeah.
I should have answered it correctly.
So, what does Dale Carnegie suggest regarding arguments? Is it always try to win arguments at any cost, avoid arguments whenever possible, or argue passionately to prove your point? A, B, or C?
Oh, those are...
What's the context here? Are we in an
right?
intimate relationship? Where? Yeah. What are we?
I don't have the context
Okay.
listed here, but what does he suggest in the book, Ron?
Brad, you mind saying those one more time? I'm sorry.
Okay, your choices are always try to win arguments at any cost, avoid arguments whenever possible, or argue passionately to prove your point. A, B, or C?
You know, I'm going to say argue passionately to prove your point.
That would be good advice, I think, but it's wrong in this
Really?
case.
Wow.
You think that's good advice?
Is it number 1 where you're supposed to argue
argue
constantly?
Try again, Leah.
Oh, darn. You're not supposed to argue at all?
You supposed
Avoid
to
arguments when possible.
Oh,
Yes.
man. I'm failing
I
at
totally
life.
would have got that one right.
Wait,
The when possible was said
No.
really quietly.
wait.
No,
I heard it.
I kind of want to argue this point.
You can't argue to impassionately prove your point because what effect are you giving that person?
So should we just get rid of lawyers?
Yeah.
Well,
I
Yeah.
mean, you're not the
that.
first person to think that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I've got 2 more of these left.
I'm sorry.
okay.
Should we go with them, Leah?
Oh, my turn.
All right, your turn. What is one of the key concepts in the book section on influencing others? Is it manipulation, integrity, or empathy? Which is a key concept?
I think it's got to be empathy.
That's right, empathy. Which of the following is not a principle discussed in the book? This is for you, Ebony. The final question. Is it make the fault seem easy to correct? Or is it give honest and sincere appreciation? Or is it convince others of their wrongdoing? Which one of these is not a principle discussed in the book?
I would say C or 3.
Convince others of their wrongdoings.
Yeah.
That is correct. Now, I wasn't keeping track of who was right and who was wrong, but we're all winners here, right? If we follow the sayings of Dale Carnegie, we're all winners. Well, I've got one more quiz. We're going to save it for a little bit later. But first, I want to talk about some of the other programs. We've talked about Blue. We've talked about this podcast being a part of community outreach. What other programs? Do you want to tell us, Leah?
Yeah, I'd love to. This is kind of sort of my big passion in terms of education. One of the things that maybe Toledo Opera, it's not one of the top things that people think of, but we do opera education, and we deliver that to approximately 22,000 students in 11 different counties, reaching from Ann Arbor down to Hancock and Fulton County. And we do that through Opera on Wheels, which is an elementary education program that's been running concurrently since the 60s. So it is a substantial and historic program. And with that, we have a partnership with Toledo Public Schools, so every school in that district gets that program for free. Wow. And to piggyback on something that you were discussing with Ron earlier, one of the really, I think for me, the main points, the main objectives of community engagement is removing barriers, removing obstacles. And with that, one of our charges as a company is to, alongside the main stage, deliver a lot or as much affordable and or free programming to people to remove that financial barrier so we can, bring the people or bring the opera, bring the art form into the community. And with the education program, our resident artists travel around, when they're not on stage, they're traveling around visiting schools, visiting teachers, like a troubadour, like a singing troupe. And to me, as somebody whose first experience with opera was in opera camp as a third grader, and that's a memory and an experience that stuck with me my whole life, I think that the education work that we do in terms of community engagement, while it might not yield, big donor dollars, or it might not, impact the stage, it really is the heart and soul of the future of our company and is essential to the work we do in engaging the community.
Yeah, as we speak, it's starting to get a little bit warm. Are you looking forward to more opera out of doors?
I love opera outdoors. I love it when we get into the metro parks and people bring their dogs and their kids and they sit on the grass. And to me, that is the best way to consume an art form, is just out in nature and having people around and strangers, and just, it's so soothing to the soul. And I think one of the things that I take away from opera is that, and you didn't ask me, but you never leave an opera feeling angry. You never leave an opera feeling really sad. You leave an opera feeling healed in some way, or feeling seen, or having an emotional connection. And that's, I think, a unique thing to this art form, and it sticks with people.
Mm-hmm. So as long as you never see any operas that where everybody dies or sort of thing.
Certainly people, you can cry in opera and feel sad, but it's not something that you're going to leave feeling resentful about your own life, or the misery that, if you just got in a car accident or had a bill to pay. All those things disappear when you're in the theater, or you're listening to the music, or watching a singer. All those sorts of things disappear, and it's very healing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We also offer we had the farmers market, and that's for free. So how many times in the summer? Three or 4 times.
We try to go. For Opera Outdoors, we try to get out like 5 or 6 times through the nice season, and we're going to try this coming year doing even more locations indoor and in more underserved neighborhoods and communities, and bring opera really where we're trying to target that growth.
Yeah. Well, you talk about the farmers market. You mean singing engagements, not that you're making vegetables.
No.
Right.
But there's an opportunity to shop. But Mm-hmm.
Well, before we do our last quiz, I'm going to ask you each if you want to give any more information, or you want to talk any more as a closing statement, so to speak. Do you guys want to do that?
Sure.
Go ahead, Ron, you start.
Ron, you start.
Again, I just commend the leadership of Toledo Opera, and I know that this is a course excuse me, as a company that really sets us apart. Although we are a smaller opera company, maybe relative to New York or Dallas, right? But when I've spoken to the creatives that have come to Toledo, they say, wow, like, you all really care about how you engage with the community, right? Yeah. And that is only something that we are going to continue, that we have to continue to refine and commit to say that, this is a anchor institution, right, within our region, and our region completely supports the arts, right? When we look at our museum, when we look at our arts commission, when we look at the county commissioners that put ARPA money toward the arts, right? Not many communities did that, right? To say we care about our arts, and for this company to say, as an arts company, we care about all of the people, right? That will be a part of it. That's important, and that has to continue. I think that ultimately, from my perspective, like, art is a vehicle of change, right? It's a vehicle where we can bridge issues, where we can make bridges over issues that have caused a lot of suffering within our society. And art is always a commentary, right, on what we are going through today. So I think the Toledo Opera has definitely paved a road that has, paid dividends, and it's only, going to continue from here.
Anybody else want to add to that?
Yeah, I would like to add. I think Toledo Opera has done and is doing a great job at opening up opera to people by showing them that it's not just for the elite. It's for everyone. It's accessible. You can come see it. You can find it wherever it is out in Toledo. And Toledo Opera is showing how, opera in its form is evolving to encompass stories and events and things that are happening currently. So I think we're very current, and Toledo Opera makes a point to do that.
Yeah, and you have the backing of so many different people in the community as well as organizations. It's a wonderful kind of melting pot of lots of different influences, and I think it can give rise to great advances in opera and in helping people, basically.
Yes, a great salad.
Yeah.
Great salad.
A great salad.
Leo, what do you say?
So one of the things that I wanted to leave with is that, Toledo, Ohio has an opera company. And for a town our size, it's a huge gift to this community that we have our own opera company. And when I was a young person, my understanding of the city, as I was going to grow up, and there's all of these art institutions and the peristyle and all these great opportunities that you had in cultural arts as a youngster to get involved in, take classes at the museum. You could do anything if you wanted to in the cultural arts. As an adult now, coming back, I've realized how important it is in a community the size of Toledo to have all of these opportunities available to the members of this city. And for the future of this city and the health of this city, I think that the vibrancy of the Toledo Opera and other cultural arts organizations delivering this programming, getting out into the community is essential. And my last thing is, we as a country just, we just went through a pandemic. We are, there's so many things going out in the world that, that weigh on our hearts and minds. And I continue to turn to the arts as a way to not only find meaning, but to find healing and, a purpose to continue on as a human being and being a good person. So for me, it's an essential thing that people have access to this kind of art form on a regular basis.
And I think community engagement goes both ways. You're engaging with them, but they're also bringing, part of themselves to the process as well.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, we're going to end with the quiz that I've entitled the Peele or Prince quiz. That is quotes by Norman Vincent Peale versus quotes by Niccolo Machiavelli from his novel The Prince.
Okay. I thought you were going to talk about Prince the artist.
Me also.
Formerly known as Prince.
Yes.
Yes.
Machiavelli.
Okay. So I'll go through these quotes and you tell me if it's Peale or Prince. Right? Do you know Norman Vincent Peale?
He was the actor, right, that played...
No.
No, who am I thinking?
Was,
Vincent Peale.
He was a minister and an author.
Oh, my gosh.
And sort of a self-help person.
How embarrassing.
Do you know about The Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli?
I haven't read it, but I do know Machiavelli.
Okay. So, here are the quotes. Let's mix it up this time. We'll start with Ebony, and then we'll go to the right. Okay.
Good
Here
luck.
we go. First one for you. It's always too early to quit. Is that Peale or Prince? It's always too early to quit.
I was going to say Peale.
That's right. Peale. 4 things for success. Work and pray, think and believe. Is that Peale or Prince?
That is going to be Peale.
Excellent. It's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both.
Oh, that's my guy, Machiavelli.
Well done. So far, you've got 3 out of 3. Okay. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Is that Prince or Peale?
I would say Prince.
That is Prince, indeed. Keeping up the winning streak here. Okay. Here you go, Ron. Every problem has in it the seeds of its own solution. If you don't have any problems, you don't get any seeds. Is that Peel or Prince?
That sounds like Peel.
That's right, Peel. Peel it is. All right. The distinction between children and adults, while probably useful for some purposes, is at bottom a specious one, I feel. There are only individual egos crazy for love.
That's got to be Prince.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is Prince.
It's too wordy.
Okay, here you go, Ebony. Watch your manner of speech if you wish to develop a peaceful state of mind. Start each day by affirming peaceful, contented, and happy attitudes, and your days will tend to be pleasant and successful. Is that Peel or Prince?
Brad, I'm going to go with Peel.
And you win. That is correct. Okay, Ron. There are three kinds of intelligence. One kind understands things for itself. The other appreciates what others can understand. The third understands neither for itself nor through others. This first kind is excellent, the second is good, and the third kind is useless. Is that Prince or Peel?
Well, we are just questioning people's intelligence. Let's go with Prince on that one.
You win. That's right. Boy, you guys have gotten all of these so far. There are only two left, so here we are, Leah. The fact is that a man who wants to act virtuously in every way necessarily comes to grief among so many who are not virtuous. Is that Prince or Peel?
I think that's Prince.
That's Prince. You win. All right. Ebony, change your thoughts and change your world. Is that Peel or Prince?
Peel.
Absolutely. You all got all of them right. I think that's the first, aside from the synonym quiz that we did.
I hope I do this well on my finals.
Yeah, right.
Good luck.
That's the first time that I think that you guys, or my guests, have gotten all of the quiz answers. So you set the bar pretty high.
Well, thank you very much. We're a good group. We're a good group.
Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Leah Whitaker, Ebone Waweru, and Ron Wells Jr. Thanks, guys. We've had a great time here on Opera Out of the Box.
Thanks, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
You've been listening to Opera Out of the Box, a co-production of WGTE Public Media and Toledo Opera. You can find previous episodes online at our website, that's wgte.org, and of course you can dive into all things Toledo Opera at their website, toledoopera.org. I want to thank my guests once more, Leah Whitaker, Ebone Waweru, and Ron Wells Jr. I'm your host, Brad Cresswell, and thank you for joining us for Opera Out of the Box.